For 8 years, I was everything to my son. Mother and father both. I broke my back to give him a normal life. Then one day, she walked back in, smiling, calling herself mom again. But she didn't come back for love. She came back because she had nowhere else to go. If you've ever had to rebuild your life from nothing for someone you love, stay till the end. And if stories like this hit you the way they hit me, hit subscribe, because trust me, this one's not over till the very last second. My name's Rowan, and for the last 8 years, it's just been me and my son, Milo. People always ask how I did it. Honestly, I didn't have a choice. You don't plan to raise a kid alone. It just happens. And then one morning you wake up and that's just your life now. Milo was 13 months old when his mother left, Renata. I still remember the morning I found the note. Not a conversation, not a goodbye, just a note on the kitchen counter, like she was leaving a grocery list. She didn't leave because of money problems. She didn't leave because we fought all the time. She left because someone else offered her a life that looked easier. His name was Garrett, and that was it. 8 years of marriage, gone for a man with a nicer car. I'm not going to sit here and pretend that didn't break something in me. It did, but I had a baby in the next room who didn't know any of that yet. He just knew he was hungry. He just knew he needed someone. So I became that someone. I learned how to make bottles at 3 a.m. with one eye open. I learned how to do a tiny braid in his hair because his daycare teacher said the other moms were doing it, and I wasn't about to let my son be the only one who looked uncombed. I learned how to work a full shift at the garage and still show up to a school play looking like I hadn't just spent 8 hours under a car. It wasn't easy. I'm not going to dress it up and make it sound poetic. Some nights I sat on the bathroom floor after he fell asleep, just done, empty, wondering how I was going to do this again tomorrow. But tomorrow kept coming, and so did I. There was a woman next door, Noemi. She never made a big deal out of helping. She'd just show up with extra food because she made too much, or take Milo for an hour because she needed company. She never asked what happened to his mom. She just stayed. That kind of quiet loyalty, you don't forget it. Slowly, the apartment that used to feel too empty started to feel like ours. Milo's drawings on the fridge. His shoes by the door, always one size bigger every few months. A routine that was messy, but ours. I used to wonder about Renata, where she was, if she ever thought about him. For a long time, that thought just sat there, unanswered. Then eventually, I stopped wondering. I had to, because wondering doesn't pack lunches. Wondering doesn't show up to parent-teacher conferences. I did. I built a life out of nothing but stubbornness and love, and for 8 years, it was enough. I just didn't know how soon that was about to be tested. It was a Tuesday. I remember because Tuesdays are oil change days at the garage, and my hands still smelled of motor grease when my phone buzzed with a number I didn't recognize. I almost didn't answer it. Something told me to let it ring, but I picked up anyway. "Rowan?" The voice was soft, familiar in a way that hit me before my brain even caught up. "It's me." I didn't say anything for a second. 8 years and one word from her, and I was right back in that kitchen, staring at a note on the counter. "Renata," I said, flat, just confirming it, not welcoming it. She talked fast, like she'd rehearsed it, said she'd changed, said she thought about Milo every single day, said she wanted to make things right before more time slipped away. 8 years of silence, and suddenly she had a speech ready. I wanted to hang up. Every part of me wanted to hang up. But then I thought about Milo, about the questions he'd started asking lately. Quiet ones, the kind kids ask when you think you're not really listening. Do I look like her? Why doesn't she call? He deserved an answer someday. Maybe not from me, maybe from her. So I told Renata one meeting, Just one. For him. Not for her, and definitely not for us. Of course, she said, too quickly. Just for him. The day she showed up, something felt off. She was dressed like she was walking into an interview, driving a car that didn't fit anything I remembered about her. Her hands wouldn't stay still, fidgeting with her bag, her sleeve, her hair. I told myself it was nerves. People get nervous after 8 years. But there was a tightness behind her smile that nerves don't usually explain. I noticed it. I just didn't say anything. I told myself I was doing this for Milo, that whatever I felt watching her walk up, that knot in my chest, that quiet warning, didn't matter as long as my son finally got to look his mother in the eye. I had no idea that one meeting was about to turn into a lot more than I agreed to. I thought one meeting meant one meeting. I was wrong. A week later, Renata showed up outside Milo's school.
Unannounced, said she just wanted to surprise him. Milo came home buzzing, talking about the toy she bought him, the ice cream, the whole afternoon I didn't know was happening until it already had. I told myself it was fine. He's her son too. I kept telling myself that. But it didn't stop there. She started calling more, showing up more, buying things I couldn't always afford to compete with. Not that I was trying to compete. I just wanted to know what was being said to my son when I wasn't in the room. Then Milo said something that stopped me cold. We were doing homework, and out of nowhere he said, "Mom said you didn't try hard enough to keep her." Just like that, like it was a fact he'd memorized. I didn't yell. I just sat there for a second, trying to figure out how to undo a sentence that wasn't even true. A few days after that, I overheard her, through the door, thinking I wasn't close enough to hear, telling Milo it was my fault she left, that she had no choice, rewriting 8 years like it was nothing. I confronted her quietly, asked her calmly to stop putting that on him. She just looked at me, almost bored. He's my son too, Rowan. I get to tell my side. Her side. Like the truth was something you got to pick a version of. I didn't raise my voice, not in front of Milo, but my hands were shaking by the time I got to the kitchen sink, gripping the edge of it just to steady myself. I kept thinking, she gets to walk back in after 8 years and just rewrite the story? Make herself the victim? I didn't know it yet, but that quiet anger I was swallowing, it wasn't going to stay quiet much longer. Milo's school was having its spring event, parents everywhere, cameras out, kids running around in their little performances. I wasn't expecting her to be there. She wasn't invited. Nobody invited her. But she showed up anyway, walking in like she belonged there, hugging other parents she'd never met, telling them how proud she was of her boy, like she'd been there every step of the way, like 8 years just didn't happen. I watched her do it, and something in me finally cracked. I pulled her aside, away from the crowd, and I kept my voice low at first. I told her she doesn't get to rewrite history just because she walked back in. I told her Milo isn't a stage for her to perform on. I told her she doesn't get to use my son to fix whatever's broken in her life. She didn't like hearing that, not one bit. "You don't get to control how people see me," she said, voice rising. "I'm not controlling anything. I'm just done watching you lie to him." That's when it happened. Her hand came across my face before I even saw it coming, sharp, loud enough that a few parents nearby actually turned and went silent. I didn't move, didn't raise my hand back. I just stood there, jaw burning, and looked past her, straight at Milo, who was standing maybe 10 feet away. He saw the whole thing. His face, I'll never forget his face. Not scared, just still, like something inside him quietly closed a door.
Renata realized it too. The color drained right out of her. I didn't yell. I didn't give her a scene to play victim in. I just looked at her and said, "You just showed him exactly who you are." I didn't have to say a word. Then I walked over to my son, put my hand on his shoulder, and we left. Together. In the car, Milo didn't ask me anything. He just stared out the window the whole ride home. I remember gripping the steering wheel so tight my knuckles went white. Not from anger anymore, from grief. Grief for the years she missed, and grief for the moment my son just watched happen in front of him. I didn't know it yet, but that night, the truth was finally about to catch up to her. 3 days after the slap, I got a message from someone I barely remembered, Felix, an old friend of Renata's from years back. He said he needed to tell me something, said his conscience wouldn't let him stay quiet anymore. We met at a coffee shop near the garage. He looked uncomfortable the whole time, like he didn't want to be the one saying it. "Garrett left her," he said, "a few months ago, for someone younger. She's got no money, no place of her own. She's been staying with relatives, bouncing around." I just sat there, letting it land. "This whole thing with Milo," he said, quieter now, "it's not really about Milo. It's about getting back into a stable life. Yours." 8 years of silence, and the only reason she came back was because she had nowhere else to go. It made sense in the worst way. The nervous hands, the rehearsed speech, the desperation behind that smile. I didn't go after her, didn't call her up to confront her again. I'd already given her one confrontation, and she gave me a slap in return. I wasn't doing that twice. Instead, I went home. I found an old voicemail, one I'd saved without even meaning to, from the week she left, 8 years ago. Her own voice admitting she didn't want to be a mother right now. Calm, certain, no hesitation at all. I sat Milo down that night, not to hurt him, just so he'd finally hear the truth in her own words instead of whatever version she kept feeding him. He listened to the whole thing without saying anything.
Then he just cried. Quiet tears, not loud ones. And underneath the tears, I could see something else too. Relief, maybe. Like a confusing puzzle had finally found its missing piece. "So it was never about me," he said, softly. "No," I told him. "It never was." I held him for a long time that night, and for the first time in weeks, he held on back. A week later, she showed up in my door again. Different this time. No rehearsed speech, no nervous smile. Just tired, worn down, standing there with nothing. "I have nowhere else to go," she said quietly. 8 years ago, those words would have broken me. I would have found a way to fix it for her, even after everything. That's just who I was back then. But I wasn't that person anymore. Milo made sure of that, just by needing me. "You're not welcome to use my son to fix your life," I told her. Calm, steady, not cruel, just final. Not anymore. She didn't argue, didn't slap me again. I think some part of her already knew there was nothing left to say. I closed the door, not in anger, just closing it. And that was it. She left the same way she arrived 8 years ago, alone, with nothing, no one to catch her this time. I won't pretend that felt like some big victory. It didn't. It just felt like peace, finally landing somewhere it belonged. A few nights later, Milo climbed onto the couch next to me, leaned his head on my shoulder, and said something I don't think I'll ever forget. "You never left," he said. "That's all that ever mattered." I didn't trust my voice enough to answer right away. I just pulled him in closer. Noemi came over for dinner that night, like she had so many nights before.
Nothing dramatic, no big declarations, just 3 plates on the table and laughter that felt easy for the first time in weeks. I didn't raise my son to win against his mother. I raised him so he'd never have to wonder if he was loved. And after everything, that was always enough. If this story moved you, drop a comment and tell me what you would have done in my place. Share this with someone who needs to hear it today, and subscribe, because there's a lot more stories like this one coming and you don't want to miss them.